When I first settled into Willow Creek, I wasn't looking to stir up any trouble. I just wanted a quiet corner of the world to call my own. After 30 years in the Navy, working as a marine engineer, fixing engines while the ocean hummed around me, I craved a place where I could hear my own thoughts, where the water could talk to me without anyone shouting over it. So, when I found this little house on the edge of Willow Lake, a shimmering stretch of water framed by willows that swayed like they were whispering secrets, I knew I'd found my spot, my slice of peace. I built a dock out back, nothing fancy, just a sturdy wooden walkway with a bench at the end where I could sit with my coffee, watch the herons glide, and let the morning settle my bones. It was for my old aluminum skiff, a beat-up thing I'd take out to fish or just drift, feeling the lake breathe under me. I got approved by the HOA back in 2010, got the emails, the permits, the whole paper trail tucked away in a folder labeled Lake House. The Navy taught me to keep records because approvals don't always last, and people change. That's when Sarah Whitaker showed up. She rolled into the neighborhood last spring, bought the big modern house 3 doors down, all glass and sharp angles, with a security camera that blinked like it was sizing you up. I didn't pay her much mind at first. Folks move in, they settle, they do their thing. But Sarah didn't settle. She stormed in like she owned the whole lake, not just her lot. By fall, she'd clawed her way onto the HOA board and, not long after, declared herself president. Whispers floated around about her last HOA in Oregon, how she'd sued them into oblivion, how she had ties to some real estate outfit looking to flip properties here. I stayed out of it until she came for me. It started with a letter, slipped into my mailbox like it was no big deal. Your dock may not comply with current HOA guidelines. It said, all polite and official, with a little logo in the corner. I read it, frowned, read it again. Guidelines? My dock was approved years ago, built to spec, solid as the day I hammered the last nail. I dug out my folder, checked the permits, everything was in order, signed, stamped, even a thank you note from the old board chair, Tom. I called the HOA, left voicemails, sent emails. Nothing. A week later, another letter arrived, this one sharper. Dock usage suspended pending review. Suspended. My dock, my land, my peace suspended. I walked the lake that night, slow, hands in my pockets, past Sarah's house with its perfectly trimmed hedges and that damn blinking camera. I noticed something odd. My dock was the only one with an orange ribbon tied to it, like it had been marked for execution. I ran into my neighbor, Ed, a retired mechanic who lives with his mutt, Rusty. You get a letter about your dock? I asked. He blinked, confused. What letter? I told him about mine. He snorted, not a laugh, but that tired sound you make when you see trouble coming. She's been talking about lake access equity at the meetings, he said. Bet it's because your dock's on that sweet little cove. Equity. That word hit me like a warning shot. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. A few days later, Sarah showed up on my property, unannounced, heels clicking on my gravel path like she was auditioning for a corporate takeover. Mr. Callahan, she called, clutching a clipboard, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. I was sanding an old chair on my deck, rag in hand, and I just looked up, slow. You must be Sarah, I said, wiping my hands. She flashed a smile, the kind that says, I'm already in charge. Just doing a quick check on your dock, she said, not asking, just stating. I didn't move. Right away, my gut screamed to block her, but I've dealt with her type before. You let them talk. Let them overplay their hand. It's right there, I said, nodding toward the lake. She marched past me, heels sinking into the grass, clipboard raised like she was inspecting a crime scene. This structure's too long, she said, scribbling something. Exceeds the 5-foot waterline rule. I stepped up beside her, calm as I could manage. That rule came 2 years after I built it. It's grandfathered. I've got the paperwork. She glanced at me, Surprised I'd pushed back. "Do you?" she said, like she didn't believe me. "Want it emailed or printed?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. She didn't answer, just snapped a photo of the support beams with her phone, then stepped onto my dock without asking. That creak of her heels on my boards, it took everything not to grab that clipboard and toss it in the lake. "This is common property, you know," she called over her shoulder, standing at the end like she owned it. "The lake's under HOA control." I stayed put, arms crossed. "Not quite. My deed says this dock's on my land, and the lake's only common to the waterline. County Code 12B. Riparian rights you read it?" Her smile tightened, but she laughed it off. "You're very prepared," she said, like it was an accusation. "I'm very retired," I shot back. "Gives me time." She didn't like that. She walked off, already on her phone before she hit her driveway, probably plotting her next move. That night, a new notice was taped to my door, no envelope, just a sheet of paper screaming, "Dock usage prohibited. Violation. Unsafe common structure." Common structure. That phrase burned. I called my old Navy buddy, Mike, who now does shoreline work. "Mark your boundaries," he said. "Get photos, GPS stamps, put up a signed private property, no trespassing. She crosses that, it's a civil violation." So I did. I staked my property line, set up a small camera, and waited. But Sarah didn't wait. I came home one day to find my dock roped off, yellow nylon with an HOA placard, closed for safety inspection. No inspection, no notice, no nothing. I snapped photos, added my own sign, "Private property. Trespassers will face legal action." This wasn't about safety, it was a power grab, plain and simple. I dug into the HOA bylaws, 50 pages of dense rules, and found gold. A clause saying no enforcement could touch pre-approved water structures without a county inspector sign-off. Sarah had none of that, just her clipboard and her ego. But then she went too far. One morning, I walked out to find a chain on my dock, a shiny padlock, and a tag. HOA seizure in effect. Unauthorized construction. And my skiff? Gone. Rope cut clean, drag marks in sand. My blood boiled not hot, but cold, the kind of anger that sharpens you. I called the county, confirmed my permits were solid, then rang Mike again, who was already typing. "Send me everything," he said. "This is war." I didn't cut the chain. I wanted her to think she was winning. Instead, I got to work. Down in my basement, I pulled out old Navy files, charts, sonar scans, designs from a project in Peru, 2008, where we'd built submerged barriers to protect coastlines. Legal, subtle, effective. I sketched a plan, a crescent of river rock, just beyond my dock, within my riparian boundary, angled to stop a boat moving too fast. Not to sink it, I'm not a monster, but to make a point. I called in a favor at a local quarry, hired 2 neighborhood kids to haul stones, and by dusk, we'd built an invisible shield under the water, marked with buoys for liability, documented to the inch. Days later, Sarah announced her big HOA lake party, a community appreciation cruise on her fancy yacht, all chrome and white leather, screaming money. I read the invite and smiled. Her route? Straight through my cove. She didn't know what was waiting. I didn't warn her, why would I? She'd chained my dock, stolen my boat, tried to erase my peace. So I sat on my bench that evening, watching the lake shimmer, knowing the truth was about to hit her where it hurt. Party day came, all sunshine and dragonflies, the neighborhood buzzing with forced cheer. Sarah's yacht gleamed, her coral dress glowed, and she waved like a queen from the bow while some hired kid drove. Neighbors clapped, phones filmed, and I just sat on my dock, polishing a piece of driftwood, out of sight but not out of mind. At 5:07 p.m., her boat turned into my cove, moving fast, too fast. I stood, hands on the railing, and waited. Then it happened, a sharp crack like a rifle shot. Her yacht lurched, Sarah stumbled, her champagne flute shattered. The boat had hit my rocks, not hard enough to sink, but enough to dent her pride and her hull. The crowd gasped, someone yelled, and Sarah's eyes found mine across the water. I didn't flinch, didn't wave, just stood there, letting her see me. The party died fast. Her boat limped back to her slip, scratched and tilting, while neighbors whispered and walked away. By evening, social media was on fire. A blurry video of the crash, posted anonymously, captioned, "Whose lake is it anyway?" Sarah went quiet. Her house shuttered, but not for long. A letter arrived, accusing me of endangering the community with my unpermitted rocks. I laughed, printed my environmental permit, and sent it to Mike. "Let her sue," he said. "She's got nothing." She did sue, though reckless endangerment, defamation, the works. But I was ready. In court, Mike laid it out. My permits, the bylaws Sarah broke, emails where she admitted targeting me because my dock had the best spot. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes, didn't blink. "Claims dismissed," she said. "HOA to remove the chain, pay costs, issue an apology." Sarah's face crumpled, and she walked out like she'd aged a decade. The neighborhood changed after that. The chain vanished. My skiff reappeared, and folks started dropping by my dock, kids sketching, couples taking photos, Ed's dog napping under the bench. Someone carved a sign, "Callahan's Cove." I didn't ask who. The HOA elected new board members, ones who asked questions instead of swinging gavels. Sarah's house went up for sale. She was gone by fall. One night, a letter came, handwritten, no address. "I thought control would make me safe," it said. "I was wrong. Forgive me." I tucked it away, not for her, but to remind myself what happens when power forgets people. Now, when I sit on my dock, coffee in hand, the lake feels alive again. Kids fish, neighbors laugh, and the water doesn't flinch under anyone's glare. I joined a residents group, not to lead, but to watch, to make sure no one else tries to chain someone's peace. This fight wasn't just about a dock. It was about what we protect when no one's looking. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back? Or should I have let it go? Drop a comment. Share your story. Have you ever had to stand up to someone like Sarah? Let's talk about it.